Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 27th of February, comes to you from Houston in Texas. And we start by looking at the currencies and then US stock markets, European stock markets, Asia, some commodities, and last of all some tech stocks. And we start with the dollar index. Waiting really in the US, as I'm seeing the news, waiting really for the presidential address tomorrow night in Parliament here. And interestingly, the dollar is just in that uncertain phase as a result, and we are seeing short-term weakness. We're below the clouds here. Medium term, we're above the cloud, and long term, we're above the cloud. So dollar bullishness is still there, and we are just pulling back right on the support. But a lot of dollar bulls have liquidated their positions in the new year, and we're just seeing that the dollar has just come off as a result. But we are still bullish medium and long term. Just this short term chart is bearish, but a real shortage of new downside targets. The older ones here do exist, but at the moment we are just holding on to support here. So just uncertainty ahead of that Congress speech tomorrow night. And if we look at the euro, we're seeing that just translating to euro strength, where the euro is just above the cloud. But again, in reverse, we're hitting resistance here. We do have an upside target at 108, but interestingly, we do have a lot of resistance here and a lot of downside targets on the euro as well. So still looking pretty worrying in the medium and long term. Japanese yen is where the dollar strength weakness really shows up, and we see here medium term we're above the cloud, but long term we're still not bullish against the yen. This will be the ultimate signal. We have gone through on the price, but we need to go through on the lagging line. A new high in the US dollar against the yen above that December level would give us a break to the through the cloud, but at the moment we're bearish here. We've got a downside target of 288, so we are seeing that. Sterling this morning just showing its weakness, fell away heavily on Friday evening, back to this 124 level, just really sitting on support, therefore struggling to get above the cloud on the medium-term chart, but long-term bearish. So sterling still looks worrying. This downside target at 117, but we do have support here. This will give us a new downside thrust at the end of the chart. So 124 is pretty key, and we are just touching that level at the moment. And if we look at the sterling euro rate, we see here how the euro strength has played in the last couple of days, and sterling is weakening again there. Looking against the Australian dollar, we see here very much that sterling again below the cloud, 161.53, similar level of support, this 161 level on the Australian dollar, 161.50. So we are bearish here as well. US stock market closed higher again on Friday. We see here on the 60-minute chart, we just had that tick up towards the end market, really gained strength, and the Nasdaq bullish as well, above the cloud on all three time frames. And if we look at the Dow, its 11th straight run of positive moves on Friday just pulled through to actually close higher for the day, and so we see that just on the end of the chart we're still bullish on all three time frames. The Dow really motoring. So 11 consecutive runs, that hasn't happened for over 30 years, and Dow really pulling forward. The Russell 2000 not quite as strong, closed down very slightly, but still looking bullish on all three time frames. The futures this morning, looking at the Nasdaq future just down slightly, suggests that the US market might just open down a bit. FTSE's up just slightly, up 1.5 points, so no really big changes there, but bullish medium long term, short term just still a bit bearish. This range really of 7,325 and 7,200, it's that 125 point range there. Looking at FTSE 250, much the same picture as you would expect. DAX is still holding its bullish position on the lagging line above the 60-minute chart, so DAX is looking pretty good. The Nikkei down nearly 1%, so that's a bit bearish. That strengthening yen having a little bit of an impact there. Hang Seng down very slightly, but bullish on all three time frames, and the Shanghai Composite is also bullish medium and short term, long term just coming through the cloud now, but still a lot of work to do for the lagging line to get through there. And if we look at the Sensex, still bullish on all three time frames. The Aussie market just down very slightly, down 0.25%, but still bullish on all three time frames as well. As I'm in Texas, I'm looking at commodities quite a lot today with clients. We see here Brent crude is up and just come back above the clouds. So just saying bullish, but we really are waiting for the break. This is showing some weakness for crude in its strong quarter, and that's a bit worrying for the price later in the year. Looking at WTI, just nudging higher, but still not really convincingly breaking. And nat gas down 3%. Still just bullish above the cloud here, but looking pretty bearish with these downside targets. 248, and we're seeing 197 as a target, so below $2 potentially. Copper still just bullish above the medium and long term charts, but the short term chart is bearish. And if we take a look at gold, bullish on all three time frames, really now back through the cloud on the daily chart. Gold looking good again. A lot of uncertainty around Europe and US policy, and so we're seeing that gold is running. At the moment we're just taking a pause for breath. On Friday we were hitting the 1260 level, just taking a pause for breath before we move higher still. And looking at the silver chart, we see much the same picture, but we're bullish on all three time frames. The government bonds 233, so we've come quite a bit back on the 10-year yield, back from 250 back to 233. So we're just below the cloud there. So that's bearish. Apple holding its bullishness up again on Friday, just really motoring forward there. Google, we're seeing still above the cloud on all three time frames, and that's quite key as well. And if we look at Amazon, we see here bullish above the cloud on all three time frames. Facebook had a good run in the middle of last week, just pulled back a little bit, but bullish again on all three time frames with lots of upside targets. Microsoft still looking bullish above the cloud, and Nvidia quite a wobble on Friday, a big move down here. In fact, I sold some more of my Nvidia. Just the stock's tripled since I've had them, and have actually taken out 2/3 of my holdings, so I'm just left with a third of what it was worth. And so waiting to see whether we recover above the cloud. That's the really key thing. But we do have these downside targets into the 80s, which suggests probably not. And if we sit too much below this 100 level, we're back above the 100 level. If we sit below that 100 level for any time, I'll be looking to sell the rest of my holding. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, back in London. Happy charting. See you then.